Are you a first-time home buyer? Do you know what earnest money is? Also, did you know that there are specific rules that apply to earnest money in Washington state? Including the minimum size of the earnest money deposit that you have to make, and what happens to your earnest money once you deposit it, and if there are ways that you could lose your earnest money should you choose to back out at all. In this video, I covered it all. Now you stay tuned. Hey, Ravi with the 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 here. If this is the first time we are connecting, I welcome you to my channel, wherein I strive to provide meaningful, relevant, and educational content to help both home sellers and buyers be in the know. Now back to the earnest money topic. I made this video in a question-answer format so that it's easier for you to understand. We'll start with the basics. Question number 1. What is earnest money? Well, if you're planning to buy a home with cash or get a mortgage from a lender, you'll need to put forth a deposit, which is called earnest money. Now, this deposit is what a home buyer puts up front when making an offer to purchase a home. Now, the main purpose of this deposit is to show the sellers that you are in earnest, which is actually a synonym of the word serious. You're screaming, "I am serious about your home!" Right? And once the seller accepts your offer, by signing your offer that is, they cannot change their minds and accept other offers. All this comes to is the sellers needing reassurance that you are a serious buyer. Now, the earnest money deposit demonstrates your good faith in purchasing the home, and you intend to move forward with your purchase and close the transaction. Now, the earnest money is also known as the good faith deposit. Okay? And question 2. And you say, okay, I get what the earnest money is, but what is the average deposit in Washington state? Well, while there is no standard required amount for earnest money deposits in Washington state, it is really up to the seller and the buyer. Some sellers request a specific dollar amount, but most just wait to see what the buyers will have to offer. It is important to remember that your deposit of the earnest money sends a strong signal to the seller, and it could affect your chances for success. For example, if there are multiple offers from buyers, a stronger earnest money deposit from you could make your offer attractive to the seller. Now, this kind of thing is especially important in hot real estate markets like Seattle, where there is stiff competition amongst buyers. Now, Washington state home buyers generally make an earnest money deposit of, say, 1 to 3% of the sale price. Now, you will want to rely on your local real estate professional's advice, and they'd know what is more common and the current norm in people making offers and getting homes. Now, the bottom line is that when it comes to the amount of earnest money, think about how you can make your offer stand out. Now, if you make a smaller than average deposit, the seller might think that, is that buyer even serious about buying my home, right? So put your best foot forward. That takes us to question number 3. Well, what happens to the money if I back out? Well, most real estate purchase agreements have what are known as contingencies written into them. Now, these are strict deadlines that must be adhered to. From a home buyer's perspective, a contingency is something that allows you to back out of the contract under certain conditions and expect a full refund of your earnest money back from the sellers. Now, contingencies can relate to, say, home inspections, mortgage financing, appraisal to the property, title to the property, information verification period, to name a few. Now, for example, the contract specifies a time period in which home inspections can be conducted by the buyer. Now, if the inspection reveals major flaws with the structure of the home, say, and the buyer is no longer comfortable with continuing with the deal, the buyer can notify the seller in writing and back out, and can expect a full refund of their earnest money back. Now, these contingencies protect your earnest money should you need to back out of the contract for some reason. Say, if you were to cancel the contract due to a change of mind. Now, without having a contingency in place, you could end up forfeiting all your earnest money to the seller, something to be aware of. Now, if a contract is illegally canceled by the buyer and the seller refuses to release the earnest money funds, Washington State Real Estate Code provides a legal avenue to force this release. In short, if the buyer sends notice to the escrow company for the release of funds back to them, and the seller has a specific time to provide legitimate reasons to the escrow company to prevent such release. And if there is no legitimate reason as to why the funds should be withheld, the escrow company will release the funds back to the buyer. Earnest money disputes are rare, but they do occur. Now, as a home buyer, it's important to understand how these deposits work. Work closely with your real estate agent to make sure that you include the necessary contingencies within your purchase offer to protect your earnest money deposit, okay? And this takes us to question number 4, which is, what is the max earnest money that, as a buyer, I will lose should I back out? Well, in multiple offer situations, we are seeing buyers go crazy with their earnest money deposits. Though typically earnest money deposits are between 1 and 3%, we've seen buyers put 15 to 20%, yeah, that's true, of the purchase price as their earnest money to make their offer stronger. And taking things further, they're even releasing 100% of the earnest money to the seller as a non-refundable deposit, typically about 1 to 2 days after going under contract. Now, when the earnest money is released thus, all the contingencies that the buyer had to protect them are waived at that point, right? So as a buyer, though you are free to do what you want, something to keep in mind is that you are giving away all your protection to the seller. Everything that you have is gone at that point. Now, however, in Washington state, should you have no contingencies and have not released your earnest money to the seller and choose to back out of the contract, the maximum you can lose is just 5%. The rest will be refunded to you. This is the Washington statute, something for you to be aware of. And finally, question number 5. You may be wondering, well, does the earnest money deposit that I make go towards the purchase, or is it something that I make to lure the seller to accepting my offer? Yes, it's called the earnest money deposit because it's an advance payment towards the home purchase that you're making. So if all goes well and your offer is accepted by the seller, the amount you paid in earnest money will go towards the down payment and closing costs, making it part of your real estate investment. Hey, another quick ask. If you found the information in this video useful, consider subscribing to this channel, would you? Feel free to hit that subscribe button and smash that bell icon, which will not only help the algorithm, but will help others too derive value, and I totally appreciate you. So back at it. The earnest money deposit is a critical piece of your offer that you make towards your home purchase. Now, you know.